It's official. President Donald Trump nominates a judge and Catholic mother of 7 to the Supreme Court. The next steps. We introduce you to Judge Amy Coney Barrett and examine how Democrats and Republicans are preparing for her confirmation battle. Returning to the Vatican. New developments in the whereabouts of Cardinal George Pell, cleared of child sexual abuse charges several months ago. And praying for peace. Pope Francis asked for prayers for a disputed region of the world. We'll explain. On EWTN News Nightly for Monday, September 28, 2020.
Today it is my honor to nominate one of our nation's most brilliant and gifted legal minds to the Supreme Court. She is a woman of unparalleled achievement, towering intellect, sterling credentials, and unyielding loyalty to the Constitution, Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
President Donald Trump on Saturday officially introduced his nominee for the Supreme Court seat left vacant by the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. President Donald Trump is defending Judge Amy Coney Barrett and her Catholic faith as the predicted attacks on her begin. Joe Biden's campaign says her confirmation to the Supreme Court would mean the end of Obamacare. And his running mate, Kamala Harris, worries that she will do away with Roe versus Wade. We have team coverage tonight, starting with White House correspondent Owen Jensen. Owen?
Tracy, everyone knew a fight was coming, and tonight that fight has arrived. President Trump continues to strongly support his Supreme Court nominee and challenges anyone who criticizes her Catholic faith.
President Donald Trump introduced Judge Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend in the Rose Garden.
Amy is more than a stellar scholar and judge. She's also a profoundly devoted mother. Her family is a core part of who Amy is.
And the judge herself, with her family looking on, said she's humbled by the prospect of serving on the Supreme Court.
I love the United States, and I love the United States Constitution.
And she said she knows full well what's coming.
I have no illusions that the road ahead of me will be easy, either for the short term or the long haul.
Fast forward to today, and the attacks on Judge Barrett have emerged. One Joe Biden campaign ad with ominous music states Obamacare will be history if she's confirmed. And Democratic vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris tweeted, Trump's hand-picked successor to Justice Ginsburg's seat makes it clear they intend to destroy the Affordable Care Act and overturn Roe. This selection would move the court further right for a generation and harm millions of Americans. I strongly oppose Judge Barrett's nomination. And at a press conference Sunday, the president said of the church,
the Catholic Church is very well united on this. They are so thrilled that Amy was chosen. They are so thrilled.
And for those who target her religion,
I thought we settled this 60 years ago with the election of John F. Kennedy. But seriously, they're going after her Catholicism. I will stand with her, fight with her.
We also reached out to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops on the judge's nomination and are awaiting a response. Tracy?
Okay, thank you so much, Owen. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reporting for us tonight. On Capitol Hill, several Democrats have already expressed that they will not meet with Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett this week, but that is not stopping Senate Republicans from moving forward on the process to get her confirmed. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales continues our team coverage tonight. Eric?
Well, Tracy, we just heard from Senator Lindsey Graham's office, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, who says that tomorrow at 5:30 he does plan to meet with Judge Barrett and walk her around the Capitol and introduce her to some of the other senators. Meanwhile, the criticism continues to come in particular from Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who says any vote yes for Barrett means a vote no and a vote to end the Affordable Care Act and pro-abortion protection.
Her record also makes clear that she will work hard to eliminate Roe v. Wade.
The Democratic leader says he won't meet with the nominee and questions the timing of President Trump's appointment.
This is a reprehensible power grab. It's a cynical attack on the legitimacy of the court, engineered by Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, and we are going to do everything we can to fight it.
But last week, the majority leader said a Senate vote at this time is fair.
We have an obligation under the Constitution, should we choose to take advantage of it, with a president of the same party as the Senate, to advance the nomination.
Republicans say Americans gave their consent when Senate Republicans won seats in the 2018 election.
Most of us came to the Senate, ran for the Senate, in a lot of ways for big moments like this, for an opportunity to fill seats on the Supreme Court with nominees that believe in the Constitution and the rule of law.
Senator Lindsey Graham, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, says opening statements in Judge Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearing will be Monday, October 12th, followed by days of testimony and questions and then a vote in committee. He plans for the committee's work to wrap up by October 26th. And Senator Rick Scott tells me he expects events to move quickly.
Then they'll be on the Senate floor promptly, and we'll have a vote before Election Day.
If the timetable does play out as is, it will likely end just days before the November 3rd election. However, Republicans are concerned that Democrats could use stall tactics, such as asking for extensions after the testimony of Judge Barrett. But critics say that would only delay it days, not weeks or months. Tracy?
Correspondent Eric Rosales reporting from Capitol Hill tonight. Thank you so much, Eric. Amy Howe, co-founder of SCOTUS blog, joins me now on Skype to talk more about Judge Barrett's nomination and the confirmation process ahead. Amy, welcome back. Good to see you. We talked last week, but now it's official. Judge Amy Coney Barrett is President Trump's pick to replace Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's interesting also to note that Judge Barrett at one time clerked for Ginsburg's close friend, Justice Scalia. Exactly how did Justice Scalia influence Barrett's judicial philosophy?
She actually talked about this in her remarks in the Rose Garden. Influenced her. She said, my judicial philosophy is his, or she said his judicial philosophy is mine. You know, she regards herself, like Scalia, as what's known as an originalist. You interpret the Constitution according to what the words meant to the people who drafted them back in the 1780s. As a textualist, you look at the words on the page of a law and not at what Congress might have intended when it passed the law itself.
Amy, as we know, the confirmation hearings are scheduled to begin on October 12th. What are some of the things happening, behind the scenes between now and then?
So, there's a lot going on. Amy Coney Barrett is very busy. There is what's known as a questionnaire in which she is providing all kinds of information about her finances, about her professional and biographical background, about the cases in which she's participated as a judge on the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. She would have done something similar when she was confirmed 3 years ago, but she'd have to update it. She's also participating in what we call murder boards, sort of moot courts, practice sessions for appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee and answering questions about, that are likely to come up about abortion or health care or, her judicial philosophy. And then as your reporters have indicated, she's going to be meeting with senators, talking to them.
As Eric mentioned, a number of Democratic senators are actually refusing to meet with Judge Barrett, including New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who was raised Catholic and also still identifies as Catholic. She made a statement on social media saying, in part, the nomination process is, quote, illegitimate. First off, what do you make of that observation? And also, how significant are these in-person meetings between senators and the nominee?
I think a lot of Democrats are still very bitter, back to 2016 and the nomination of Merrick Garland. They regard that as a stolen seat. They had the opportunity to replace Justice Antonin Scalia with someone who would have been more liberal and affected the balance on the Supreme Court. The meetings with the senators really can vary. They can be sort of quick photo ops, or they can be much more substantive discussions, in which the nominee and the senators have a chance behind closed doors to talk, particularly the senators who are lawyers, to talk about substantive issues of law that may come up and to learn more about Amy Coney Barrett.
As far as the meetings that do take place, what can we expect from them? Will they take on a different form due to COVID, or do we even know?
I don't think we know yet. I haven't seen any indication that they will. As your reporter said, she's going to go meet with Lindsey Graham, and he's going to walk her around the Capitol. They may be socially distanced. They may involve masks. Maybe we won't see necessarily the handshakes that we've seen in the past. But so far, I haven't necessarily seen any signs that they're going to be affected that much by COVID.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for coming on. We always appreciate your analysis. Amy Howe, co-founder of SCOTUS Blog. Thanks again, Amy.
Thank you.
Our respected Catholic voice and longtime friend and colleague of Judge Amy Coney Barrett is addressing liberals who may be concerned about her nomination to the High Court, writing, quote, "There is nothing about the prospect of a Justice Barrett that should cause them to fear," end quote. In an opinion piece published in the Washington Post, O. Carter Snead, a professor of law and the director of the Center for Ethics and Culture at the University of Notre Dame, writes in part, quote, "There is, of course, no way to know in advance how a Justice Barrett would rule on hot-button cases. What is clear is that she would carefully analyze each case on its merits, respectful of the stakes for both the rule of law and the stability of our polity, doing her level best to get the question right, regardless of her own personal views." O. Carter Snead joins me now on Skype. Welcome back, and thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. I know that you've known Judge Amy Coney Barrett as a friend and colleague for more than 15 years. Can you give us a sense of who she is on a personal level?
Judge Barrett is one of the most extraordinary human beings you would ever hope to meet. She is, of course, brilliant in a way that goes beyond what even very brilliant people are. I mean, she's just absolutely extraordinary mind. But just as brilliant as she is, she's also as kind and generous and humble and warm and selfless and to the exact same extent as she is brilliant. And that's a very, very unusual combination in people of her achievement. And everybody that meets Amy loves her, from the president of the university all the way down to the people who work in buildings and grounds here at Notre Dame. She was supported by every one of the clerks on the U.S. Supreme Court that clerked her term in 1998, including those that clerked for Breyer and Ginsburg. She was supported by every single member of our faculty in her appointment for the Seventh Circuit, and she won Professor of the Year 3 times here at the University of Notre Dame Law School.
Well, as we know, family is so important. And while praising her on Saturday, President Trump called her a profoundly devoted mother. Can you share with us maybe what you know about Amy as a mom?
Yeah, no, she's amazing. I mean, we have kids that are the same age. Our kids spend time together. We spend time with their family and vice versa. And watching Amy and Jesse, her husband, parent those kids is inspiring. I mean, those kids are the heart of their lives. They love every single one of those beautiful children. And they devote themselves to them. And it's an extraordinary thing that she's able to accomplish all that she does and yet still be fully present as a mom to the kids. I mean, every single morning, when she goes to work out first in the morning, then she comes home and she goes upstairs to the room of her youngest child, Benjamin, who has Down syndrome. He's not that little anymore. He's in elementary school, and she puts him on her back and gives him a piggyback ride down the stairs for breakfast every day. That's their ritual as a family. And it's just a very beautiful thing, and it's a perfect representation of who Amy Judge Barrett is as a mother.
I love hearing those stories. So wonderful. As we know, Judge Barrett not only graduated from the University of Notre Dame Law School, but returned to teach there. Can you talk a little bit about how the university has helped to influence her?
The University of Notre Dame is the Blessed Mother's University. It is a university that takes its Catholic mission seriously. And I think for those of us who work here, it's a very special community. It has the highest standards for academic excellence, but it also aims to be a force for good in the world. And here in the law school, now under the leadership of Dean Marcus Cole, we take our vocation seriously, first and foremost, to form the students in our care. And Judge Barrett is one of the most, if not the most, beloved teacher on the faculty. And she is an essential part of our community. We're sad that she's not with us among the tenure-track professors, but she still teaches 1 day a week here. And of course, there's no one more well-qualified than her to be on the U.S. Supreme Court, but it does make it sad to see her leave, should she be confirmed, which we all hope and expect she will.
Yeah. Carter, I want to get your thoughts on her as a jurist. I know in your piece you wrote about her open-mindedness. How have you witnessed that at work, and how is that an asset on the bench?
Yeah, I mean, the virtues of a judge, and this is what I think people forget. I mean, people assume that a judge is just another political actor that should help impose whatever policy views he or she might have. And that's not what a judge is. If that's what a judge is, then we shouldn't have a court. We should just make the Senate bigger and make these folks politicians. What judges do is something quite different. They interpret the law, and that it requires a lot of humility and a lot of integrity and intellectual honesty and a lot of discipline to prevent and to resist the temptation of importing your own preferred outcomes into your jurisprudence. And Judge Barrett, throughout her career as a jurist, and she talked about this in her confirmation hearing in 2017, what she views the role of a judge to be is precisely that, a judge to interpret the Constitution in light of its original meaning and to interpret statutes in light of their plain meaning and their texts. And everything else, her religious views, her policy views, her ideological views, her preferences of any kind, are irrelevant to that process. And what a person would want is a judge to do just that. And one of the finest thing I've heard about Judge Barrett as a judge came from a colleague of ours here at Notre Dame who said, Judge Barrett is the judge you'd want to have if you didn't know in advance which side of the lawsuit you were going to be on. Because you could be assured that she'll be fair and honest and act with integrity. And that's what we should hope for in a judge, not particular outcomes of cases.
Carter, we only have probably about 20 seconds left, but quickly, could you touch on the role her Catholic faith plays in her life?
Well, we were members of the same parish until our family moved to a different part of town, and she's an engaged member of the community. She believes in service to others, and the greatest influence of her faith is seeing her treat her neighbor as she would treat herself. In fact, in most cases, better than she treats herself.
Carter, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time. Carter Snead, professor of law and the director of the Center for Ethics and Culture at the University of Notre Dame. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Nearly 1 million people around the world have died from the coronavirus, including more than 200,000 people in the United States. Correspondent Mark Irons reports on the latest numbers. Mark?
Tracy, Johns Hopkins University is tracking the total death count as the world nears 1 million deaths. Now, the U.S. has the highest total number of coronavirus cases with more than 7 million, but health experts are learning more about treatment and prevention.
We are going to have an ongoing challenge with COVID. The good news is we know ways to reduce the impact. We know now that social distancing can work. We know now that wearing masks can reduce both the risk to others and the risk to yourself.
A former chief scientist for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration speaking there, clinical trials have shown several drugs are also able to help fight COVID-19. And doctors are constantly learning new ways to improve treatment for the sickest patients in hospitals. As one example, in some cases, they can avoid using breathing machines by placing patients on their stomach. Tracy.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark. Correspondent Mark Irons reporting for us tonight. Thank you again, Mark. Coming up, why Cardinal George Pell is headed back to Rome months after being cleared of child sexual abuse claims. And Pope Francis weighs in on the fighting between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Israel has one of the world's worst outbreaks of COVID-19, and the old city of Jerusalem is now declared a hot zone. Only people who live inside the walled city are allowed in and out. The normally bustling streets are now empty. Strict lockdown rules, including a ban on large crowds, were imposed on Friday at the start of the Jewish high holiday season. Police in Belarus fired tear gas and detained 500 more protesters over the weekend. Thousands marched yesterday in the capital of Minsk to protest against the inauguration of President Alexander Lukashenko. They say the August vote was rigged. Australian Cardinal George Pell is returning to the Vatican amid an economic crisis. Pell is the former finance minister for Pope Francis and is coming back to the Vatican for the first time since he was cleared of child abuse allegations. The Pope fired Cardinal Angelo Becciu last week over a financial scandal. At one time, Cardinal Pell was the third highest official at the Vatican. Pope Francis is urging leaders in Armenia and Azerbaijan to end the conflict between the nations. Over the weekend, 16 soldiers and 2 civilians were killed in clashes. More than 100 other people were wounded. It's not immediately clear what sparked the fighting. The Holy Father is calling for leaders on both sides to end the bloodshed, and he asked all Christians to pray for peace in the region. Joining me now is Andrea Galeoducci, Vatican analyst for EWTN News. Andrea, welcome back. Always good to see you. So Pope Francis met yesterday with the head of the Armenian Apostolic Church. What did they discuss?
Well, yesterday the head of the Armenian Apostolic Church, that is an Eastern Orthodox church based in Armenia, went to meet the Pope. The meeting was scheduled for today, on Monday, but actually because of the conflict that is ongoing in the Azerbaijani-Armenian border, the Catholicos went a day ahead of schedule, and they mostly spoke about that. I had the possibility to have a conversation with the Catholicos, that is the name of the head of the Armenian Catholic Church. And he told me that most of the conversation was about the situation in Armenia, the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh, or as the Armenian call it, Artsakh, the alleged attacks by Azerbaijani forces to the Nagorno-Karabakh, and the way Armenia was going to react. And he asked the Pope to raise his voice to support a peace and a peaceful resolution of the conflict.
Andrea, what can we expect to come from the Holy Father's involvement in the dispute?
Well, the Holy Father welcomed the request of the Catholicos Carekin, and he actually raised his voice at the end of the prayer of the Angelus yesterday, asking for a global peace solution in the Caucasian area, Caucasian region. He did not mention explicitly Nagorno-Karabakh region, he did not mention explicitly nor Armenia nor Azerbaijan, but it was as much as you could expect, because actually the Holy See is observing very closely the situation. The Holy See has good relations with both Azerbaijan and Armenia, and they would like not to have a conflict, but this conflict has been ongoing since 1993, I would say.
Was yesterday the first time that Pope Francis addressed violence in the Caucasus region?
Yeah, yesterday the Pope did that, and as I said, it was the most we can expect from that. I know that the Azerbaijani ambassador to the Holy See is visiting during these days in Rome. He's not a resident ambassador, but he came to Rome for a scheduled visit, actually, and he should meet Cardinal Parolin and the Secretariat of State tomorrow. But these kind of meetings are not officially, so they don't go on the Vatican schedule. So I will try to keep you updated with whatever is going on.
Well, Andrea, thank you so much for coming on. We always appreciate your analysis. Andrea Galeoducci, Vatican analyst for EWTN News. Thank you again.
Thank you.
In an exclusive interview with our sister publication, the National Catholic Register, retired Bishop of Hong Kong Cardinal Joseph Zen spoke about the qualities he feels are needed in the former British territory's next bishop.
We really need a bishop who is a good shepherd for the flock. And I remember at the beginning of his pontificate, he gave many recommendations. So a bishop should be like this, and should not be like that. And so I hope he remember all those things and really give us a good bishop, and not to pay too much importance to the political aspect of the problem. Maybe I am a little too much worried. The Pope knows that, but I think it's good for him to hear a voice for an old man who has been also the Bishop of Hong Kong, and I think even the Pope sometimes may need encouragement from people.
The Cardinal spoke to the Register during a brief visit to Rome. He was hoping to meet with Pope Francis, but he said the short notice of his trip made it difficult.
I cannot really expect at so short notice to have his time, because he must be very busy. But I'm satisfied that my letter has reached the Holy Father himself.
And you can find the entire interview with Cardinal Zen at the National Catholic Register. Just visit ncregister.com, and we will bring you more of this exclusive interview with Cardinal Zen tomorrow night. Up next, engaging in spiritual combat. Why is Pope Francis comparing it to holiness and happiness? A relic of St. John Paul II has been stolen from a Catholic church in Italy. The relic was in a glass container in the chapel at Spoleto Cathedral. It contained drops of blood from St. John Paul II. The chapel is closed by an iron gate, meaning whomever stole the relic late last week would have had to climb it. Police are investigating the theft. Pope Francis is complimenting the Vatican Security Service. Today, the Inspectorate of Public Security is celebrating its 75th anniversary.
L'opera di tanti uomini e donne della Polizia di Stato
The
italiana.
Holy Father recalled the history of the organization and noted this anniversary celebration is a chance to thank the Lord for the work of the men and women in uniform. This year's pilgrimage to a famous shrine in Argentina is a virtual event because of the coronavirus pandemic. The pilgrimage to the Shrine of Our Lady of Luján in Argentina wrapped up yesterday. Luján is located north of Buenos Aires and goes back to 1630. In 1930, Pope Pius XI formally declared Our Lady of Luján as the patroness of Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. And finally tonight, Pope Francis reminds the faithful that the path to holiness and happiness sometimes calls for spiritual combat.
Io vorrei sottolineare questa parola, grazia.
At his Sunday talk with pilgrims at the Vatican, the Holy Father said battling temptation, discouragement, and spiritual dryness are all part of following Christ. Pope Francis added, if we ask God for the grace to be a good Christian, we will receive it and improve our lives and the lives of those around us. We thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.